have a steel wall vinyl liner pool with patio poured right into the white coping that goes all the way around the pool, which touches both the patio and is what holds the liner in place. If I've had some concrete shifting and I'd like to replace my concrete with brick pavers, how would we go about doing that renovation?
So if you're looking to have the entire patio done, it's a matter of removing the patio. You can break out like normal 90% of the patio, but the 6 inches along the edge of the pool, a typical steel wall vinyl liner pool has about a 5 to 6 inch flange on the top, and that coping, that white piece, is screwed down to the top of the steel. So as you're breaking out your concrete, you have to be a little conscious to not break that all apart at the same time, is you're going to want to break up to the 6 inches close to the pool and then do that very carefully by hand. Once you've gotten that removed, to do this and to be able to replace it properly with patio, you're going to have to do the liner at the same time, because then you take all of those screws out, remove that white piece of coping, reinstall what's called a face mount coping that actually screws to the front wall edge of the pool itself. So technically your pool ends up about this much shallower because you're moving that liner bead down just slightly. Although your water level will be the same, so there's no difference in that, but it actually shifts down a little bit. And then again, to do this properly, you need to stiffen that pool wall. You can't just glue down bricks right to the top of that wall without them flexing. What happens over time is that steel is bent and it relies on itself as an entirety to hold together, with that concrete on top to hold together. And if you don't stiffen that wall is going to move like this when people sit and step on it, and you're going to end up deflecting the wall and your brick's going to fall apart. So what you have to do is dig a trench right at the back of the wall all the way around the pool, add some additional rebar in there for support, and pour a collar probably 8 inches deep by up to the back of the wall, under the flange of the wall, and about 6 inches out. So you have about a 12-inch solid piece of concrete all the way around the pool. And then the stone can be glued to the concrete after it cures a little bit, or it could be mudded to the top of the concrete, and then you can do all of your grade that you need to for the brick pavers. So there's a lot of steps involved. It certainly can be done, but you have to be consciously aware of all of the pieces that are working together. I've seen people try to take the existing concrete right where it is and glue bricks on top of that and then redo the patio. And while it's okay to do it right, if you're going to spend the money to do it right, I would say do it the right way, and that includes pouring that collar around that top edge. You also have to be concerned to make sure that that collar doesn't move. Do you have to post it down to the original footing and put solid concrete in there? Do you have deck supports? A lot of pools, at least pools that we build, have a deck support every 3 feet or so, 2 to 3 feet apart. If you have those, you can run rebar across from one of those to the next and pour those all in the concrete, and that makes that top of the wall really solid, and then it'll hold the brick. Once you do that, then it's a matter of installing the brick properly and making sure that you get enough of a base in there that it's not going to move over time, because that's the biggest issue with brick pavers directly around a pool. Is in that wet environment, the constant splashing, the constant movement of water, you always run the risk of that brick pavers going like this, and over time you've got brick pavers that are up and down all over the place. But if done right, it's a great thing, but it's going to take some time and energy, and make sure that you spend the time to do it right.
Are there any concerns installing brick pavers around, say, a vinyl liner pool? I'm thinking just rain or like the splash out that you talk about. Are there any concerns?
Not so much today, because there's polymer sands that you can put once brick pavers are put together in little pieces. And then in the olden days, we used to just brush sand in between the bricks. Today, the polymer sands, once you brush them between the bricks, they kind of lock the bricks together, and they create a film, almost individual caulk joints between each one of those. That really helps to get that water to shed away. but you always still have a bit of a concern because you have individual pieces that are literally floating. And especially here in Michigan, when the ground freezes, the ground starts pushing up. Those brick pavers go up. When it thaws, the brick pavers go down. So while the first year they're all together nice and tightly packed together, over time, freeze thaw, especially if you're in a clay environment, freeze thaw, you got to make sure that there's a lot of base of stone and sand underneath so that you don't have that movement. Otherwise, you run that risk. Now you have two beautiful stones that move a little bit different, and over time, 2 stones and 1,000 stones are all moving literally independently, and they can go all over the place. So if done right, great idea. If you're trying to do it on the cheap, which, you know, sometimes you got to do it on the inexpensive if you can, this is not the place to do that. Do accent patios and brick pavers, do all kinds of other stuff in brick pavers. But if you're going to do it around the pool, around that wet environment, make sure that you take the time and you spend the money for it. It's just going to cost more. And if someone wants to try to do it for you cheap, you have to wonder what they're doing. And this is not the place to do it, because it just causes all kinds of long-term issues if you don't do it the whole way. Do it all the way or don't do it at all. Or do it as an accent patio. Use brick pavers everywhere else, but directly up against the pool. Have them re-pour concrete or do some decorative something, or, you know, do something else, or do it right and do it all the way.